Hey y'all, it's Magsy, and what a ride it's been. Season 1 of Local Wimby with Magsy has been an absolute blast. I've had the joy of sitting down with some of the most audacious, big-hearted, and wonderful islanders this side of the ferry. From artists and farmers to entrepreneurs and musicians, we've only just scratched the surface of what makes Wimby Island tick. Now don't panic, but I'm taking a little summer break. I'll be using the time to record even more audacious stories, introduce the podcast to those who still don't know it exists, and work behind the scenes on some exciting events for With Magsy. If this is your first listening experience with Local Wimby Podcast, make sure you check out all of the episodes on the podcast page. Also, feel free to forward this page to a friend on the island. It would be a shame that they would miss out. Speaking of events, mark your calendars. On July 20th, I'll be hosting my very first musical guest for a one-of-a-kind evening. But here's the catch. It's invite only, and you've got to be a subscriber to withmagsy.com to snag a seat. Head over to withmagsy.com to get on the list. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one. And this fall, Season 2 is coming in hot. Expect more interviews with fantastic islanders who are shaking things up in the best possible way. Got a story to tell? Know someone who does? Head to the podcast tab on withmagsy.com and in the drop-down, read the guidelines and click that email to pitch your story or make a recommendation. Until then, let's get to today's episode. All right, my Wimby people, gather round because today's episode of Local Wimby with Magsy is blooming with beauty, creativity, and one seriously talented floral artist. We're talking about Lexi Ochoa, the founder and floral genius behind Forage, a custom floral design company based in Oak Harbor. Now let's be clear, Forage is not your run-of-the-mill flower shop with sad balloons and generic roses wrapped in cellophane. Oh no, Lexi is out here creating art, lush, soulful, one-of-a-kind arrangements, and wreaths that are basically emotional experiences with stems. Whether it's a wedding, a celebration, a quiet moment of remembrance, or just because flowers make life better kind of day, Lexi's work brings the wild beauty of nature into the most meaningful corners of people's lives. You can catch up with all that Lexi is doing on Instagram or Facebook, and of course at her website at foragewimby.com. We're diving into her story, what inspired her to start Forage, and how she's redefining floral design in our little island town with heart, style, and a whole lot of intention. So grab your tea or your clippers, and let's get into this gorgeous conversation. It's going to smell amazing. Hey, Lexi. I am so glad that you agreed to this interview. You have a beautiful garden. Listener, you know Lexi Ochoa, right?
Hi.
Hi. I don't know very many people who don't know you. Lexi is my person who was born here, and she grew up in Coupeville. Okay, so let's get started with your Wimby Island roots. Have you always lived here, and what brought you to the island?
I've always lived on Whidbey. I grew up in Coupeville, and my parents live here, my grandparents live here, my great-grandparents lived here.
Wow. Yes. I will have to say you're the person I met. I know there's lots of people here that have been here and their generations of family here, but you're the first person I've interviewed with that long of a genealogy, which is really cool, especially for an island off the coast of Washington State. Yeah. When I tell people, oh, I live on an island off the coast of Washington State, I love saying that. Yeah. It sounds so, bougie. Listener, if you are new to the program and you don't know who Lexi Ochoa is, she owns Forage, which I just said in the introduction. And so basically I came across her because I saw her on Instagram, like a lot of us do. And I'm someone that likes wreaths and flowers and things like that. So that's how I met Lexi. So what inspired you to start Forage?
When my husband and I moved back here to Whidbey Island in 2005, all of our friends were getting married, and I started doing some weddings on the side because I've always worked in the floral industry. Mm-hmm. My first real job in the floral industry was at Hummingbird Farm as a teenager.
Farm?
Yeah, I was a floral harvester in the 90s. for the big dried flower boom back then.
Yes.
And then I worked at a flower shop in Pullman, Washington, Neil's Flowers and Gifts. And I did lots of events and kind of got my main design bearing there. And so our friends started getting married and I started doing weddings and Forage was born.
So back to the dried flower age, I was into that too. But my designer friend, interior designer friend, said that was the dead flower age. And she said it's not feng shui at all.
I tell people all the time, especially now since I do drieds, still I'll say like, this wreath is seasonal decor.
That's right.
It is not the 90s. Throw it away.
That's right.
It's really hard though.
Well, we can all agree to disagree with my friend Judy. Okay. So did you always see yourself as a creative entrepreneur or did this path just unfold over time?
I've always seen myself as a creative, not necessarily as an entrepreneur. I can't remember a time where I didn't want to be an artist in all different types of media, I guess. Floral design comes naturally to me. And so, I feel like it goes along with gardening and gardening is my main love.
So your own garden, I'm looking at it, so beautiful. You have so many different things. I see you have things I don't have. I've never tried to grow irises, but those are gorgeous.
I'm in love with irises right now.
And this a clematis. It's listener, the clematis flower is probably what, 6 inches wide?
It is.
Wowzer. That is just crazy.
And the periwinkle blue with the blue in this iris throat. I just love it.
Yes, that is gorgeous. I'm so about when things aren't blooming about foliage.
Yeah, me too.
And so if the foliage doesn't look good, I have a problem growing it or putting in. But then I realize you just put it behind something and let it grow over the top so no one will see it. So what kind of events or moments do you design for mostly?
Forage is kind of an all-service florist business. So we do daily orders where you can call and send your friends flowers every day. We do deliveries. You can pick up bouquets from the refrigerator on my front porch. We do wreaths. We fall wreaths, winter wreaths, events. Special events are my favorite, and weddings. But
Well, I love that we get to come to your house.
Thanks.
I know when I started with Magsy, I had many people ask me, are you sure you want these people coming to your home? And it was kind of foreign to me. I'm like, oh, why not? Well, they might case it, or they might this, or they might that. And I'm like, you know what? That can happen if you don't have people in your home. Then this past winter, and I swear this is what happened. I have no proof that this is what happened. But I had a humongous 4-year-old butterfly bush and it got stolen.
What?
Yes. Someone dug it out of my yard.
What?
And filled the hole back in. Yes. This winter. Yes, that happened. And I asked the garden group on Facebook if anyone had ever gotten plants stolen. And someone said that they had a professional plant 12 trees once. And the next day they got up and they were all 12 of them were gone.
Is bizarre.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
But I'm still glad you...
They can take the popsicles out of the freezer on the front porch. I don't care. That's fine. Don't pull up my plants.
I remember the very first wreath I got from you. We were doing it in your garage and you let me help you. And then when it was spent, I need to get rid of it. I thought, oh my gosh, I have this wire frame. I wonder if she wants it back. And you were like, no.
No, thank you. With the type of wreath machine that I use with the clamping, they don't reuse.
No, and they're heavy duty. You have to pry it off and the whole thing. So how would you describe your own personal floral style? What does Lexi make for Lexi?
For me, like for my dining room table, I want like a mass arrangement, like something of just one type of flowers. I don't know why, but that's what I like for on my dining room table. Like when it's tulip season, I'll have like 4 bunches of tulips on my table.
Yes, I like that too.
For Mother's Day, I gave myself 4 bunches of snapdragons.
So what would you
perfect.
call that? That's not minimalist or modern.
No,
I think that's
not how I like to
it's
design.
a color thing.
Yeah, I think that is probably comes from being the kid that fixates on the one color of crayon in the crayon, know. That's probably comes from there. That's not how I like to design. That's just what I like for my own house.
Right.
But when I'm designing, I do try, my style is more lower and compact and maybe a little bit more vertical rather than horizontal.
Right.
Because I feel like in other people's homes, I want the bouquet to fit in. I don't want it to be like there's this weird bouquet,
right?
Hanging out on the kitchen counter, or
who
you
put
don't,
that there,
or you feel like you don't know where to put it. I want it to be able to blend in with your decor.
So obviously you draw inspiration from many things, but do you have like a category like nature or art or fashion?
I recently listened to the Garden Club design program. Did a cute, program on the different types of design, and I definitely think that I have like an English/Dutch style of arranging that there's lots of texture, lots of movement, lots of color. I'm very, inspired by nature and by gardening, that there are like layers and colors and empty space.
So maybe in your garden outside, you don't necessarily choose by rabbits or a deer that might eat it. You just, or do you ever consider that? That was the first thing I considered when I moved here.
I'm battling rabbits in the backyard right now because we used to have 2 cats and now we just have 1. And she apparently is not doing her job at all. And so I do think about what I'm planting.
Yeah.
Depending on front yard, backyard, because I'm kind of protecting the backyard from the deer. So everything has to be deer friendly in the front.
Yeah, that's the route I went at first. And I've changed some things out just because I like the color and, spraying it with the stinky, smelly stuff and all that kind of stuff. And just because I want that plant.
Totally.
For sure.
There's things I wish I could have in the front that I can't. Also, like, it never fails. Once a year or so, somebody will break through the fence and clear something out. I had 1,200 tulips.
Oh, yeah.
In the spring, and
wow,
and 2 baby deer did a number.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know someone else that happened to. It was up there in the thousands too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? And the deer leave mine alone. I don't understand. I must get really crappy ones.
Tell me what
you get the delicious ones. So let's talk about your process.
Yeah.
So when you're creating a custom arrangement or a wreath, how do you bring someone else's vision, or do people like, oh, put your thing on it, Lexi? I'll go with whatever you want.
Majority of the time, my client knows that, or they're okay with the fact that I'm going to make what I'm going to make. I think that once, for a wedding, then definitely I'm looking at a mood board where, we have colors that we're talking about. I'm trying to get the feel of the bride's vision. That sort of thing. But just for like a daily arrangement, I meet with wholesale on Wednesday and I pick the prettiest flowers at the market. And then that kind of is my palette for the week. Okay. And so then if you've ordered flowers from me, then you're going to definitely see, whatever I bought from wholesale. Like this week, it's all peonies, because we're in the middle of peony season. And so I have tons and tons of peonies in the cooler. And then depending on which peony I'm getting, then I'm finding other flowers that coordinate with it and that sort of thing.
So I saw a guy on Instagram that showed how you can save peonies for weeks in your fridge.
I saw you.
Yes. Yeah. And so this morning I went out again because a lot of my peonies have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I can't cut it in marshmallow stage because I will lose. I won't ever see the other ones again. So I'm a little nervous. I have an event in June. I want to save them for a month. And I picked some more this morning. So I'm really crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
So you swear by that?
The peony farmers that I know, they can keep peonies in a cooler for probably more than a month.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, listener, what I'm talking about is you can cut your peonies when the bloom is what they call marshmallow stage, meaning it's not completely closed, but it's also not completely open. And you wrap it in saran wrap, then wrap it in paper and put it in your refrigerator. And they can last up to 6 weeks, is what the guy said. But yeah. And then, so I'm saving mine for an event. And I'm not cutting all of mine, but it makes me really nervous when I do new things like that.
Yeah.
In case it doesn't work out. Okay. So are there certain blooms or materials you gravitate toward, or does it change with the seasons?
I totally am excited when every season comes around.
Right.
When the
For what's
spring,
next? Yeah.
I can't get enough of the tulips and the daffodils and grape hyacinth. I love hyacinth, which my husband does not. And then we roll into peonies and then roses and then dahlias. And then by the time fall comes around, I never want to see a dahlia again.
Right. Well, the peonies is my favorite flower, and it just doesn't last as long as dahlias.
I know.
And this year I've actually seeded some dahlias, so
Cool.
I'm really interested to see. They probably won't get any blooms this year, but I'm interested to see what they eventually turn out to be.
Yeah.
Because what I learned from Floret is that they're not the same as if you plant a tuber.
Yeah.
So we shall see on that one. Okay. So what's your favorite kind of project?
Well, I think that's seasonal as well. Like I love making winter wreaths in the winter. I love springy arrangements in the spring. I love gardening stuff in the summer and planting, drying flowers, getting ready for fall wreaths. And then that first dried fall wreath in September is probably the highlight of my year.
Yeah. So you're a fall girly?
I'm a spring girl, but for some reason, I love making fall wreaths.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I'm an October baby,
Oh, yeah.
I'm super into fall.
Yeah.
Super into it. Yeah. And I like spring too, but I'm like you. I really look forward to just like really starting in September, and going through Thanksgiving. Have you made something for somebody or for some event or something that was just off the charts? You can't believe you pulled that off. It was so cool type thing.
This driftwood arbor right behind me is from a wedding that we did on the beach I grew up on. For a boy that I babysat. And
wow.
And it was a drizzly, rainy summer morning that ended up being a beautiful afternoon. But the design that I wanted to show off the driftwood, and so the floral part was all underneath it.
Okay.
So you could see
it.
You see all the driftwood, and it was all peaches and creams and whites. It was so beautiful.
That is really, really nice. And this,
it's a kiwi.
This is a kiwi. This has really grown nice on it, listener. It's, if you know what a kiwi is. What is that from? Just a vine family of some sort?
Yeah, it's just the kiwi plant.
Oh,
it's
you're talking about the fruit? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can see you see all the babies growing on there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
A kiwi, growing kiwi in the Pacific Northwest.
That's what they like. They like our colder weather.
Okay. Yeah. I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've just killed a couple of lemon trees in my backyard.
Oh, yeah. They don't like us.
So I switched to fig.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They also don't like us, but good luck. They like us.
Okay.
But it's hard, especially, in certain areas inland, if you have a really protected area, then you can get your figs to ripen all the way. But they do really well, like in Skagit Valley. But on the island, we just don't get hot enough for them to like fully mature.
So I need to make sure that it's not too shaded. Yeah. Okay.
Plant will do great.
Well, here's another thing that I planted that's never bloomed, but it's coming to a tree. In the South, there's crepe myrtles, and you can shape crepe myrtles. And so I ordered crepe myrtles when I first got here, and they've grown. They've not ever gotten one bud on them. And so I was down in Seattle, and I went to one of the gardens there, and I saw humongous crepe myrtles.
Yeah.
So I finally asked a nursery, in fact, it was the guy that owns Christensen's about it. And he said, well, you need to buy a crepe myrtle that actually is from here, not from the South. That would help.
Oh, yeah.
They're not the same because there's different varieties.
Sure.
And he said, so that really tall one that you saw in the gardens in Seattle, he said that, that is from here.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why. But they don't ever have as many blooms as the ones that you see in the South that they use for landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
And they lop off the tops of them every year, and then they just burst out with, pink or coral flowers. And so it's in a pot on my veranda. And I like it because it has this fall look to it all the time, but I've never seen it. And it's in east, it's facing the east. So we get sun from sunrise all the way till 2:00 back there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, maybe one day it'll surprise me.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's something you've learned about yourself since starting Forage?
Something I've learned about myself is that I can't, there's a deep need for me to be able to be creative. Yeah. I really, I thrive when I'm able to get that energy out.
Right.
I'm thankful that I've been able to have Forage at home.
Yeah.
And that really helps me to be creative too, I think. I don't think it'll always be at home, but but it's been a great space to be able to have that just right off the kitchen.
Yeah. That is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's one misconception people often have about floral design or what you do every day?
Well, I think that the main misconception about floral design is that your bouquet will last for 2 weeks. That's probably the main thing. I think that a misconception about being a florist or working from home is that you can still get all your laundry done and your dishes done.
Yeah. Yes.
It's impossible. Yes. It's one or the other. You can work or you can have your dishes done.
Well, since 2000, most of those years I've worked from home.
Yeah.
Very small time in Dallas. I went to the office every day. And that was the first thing you had to kind of train your family, specifically your husband, for, was that you were actually working just like he was.
Yeah.
So you weren't doing laundry, you weren't doing the dishes.
Yeah.
And then if you had little ones at home while you're doing it, you were, managing them. So it can be a hurdle. That's for sure.
We have a fort in the attic above the studio, and that's where Miles spent a lot of time. Yeah, before he was in school.
Cool.
Yeah, I could get work done and he could play in the fort.
I was working remote before it was popular, and I worked for a company in Boston, and I lived in Beaverton, Oregon. And fortunately, because it was their Monday morning meetings were 9:00, it was 6 a.m. So I literally could listen to the meeting before the boys got up.
Yeah.
They were all gone at 2. That's when they got home from school. And so I literally, after dinner and put them in bed, I would go back to work. So it ended up really working out that I worked on the West Coast and they were on the East Coast.
Yeah. Working from home has been such a blessing to me. I definitely see it as a privilege, even though it is a lot of work.
Right. It's
worked well for our family, but it gets lonely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say that too. Yeah, that is a huge hurdle. I don't think you ever get over it.
Yeah.
That hurdle, especially like us, we've moved a lot from my husband's job, but it's really hard to get over that hurdle. Talking about being an entrepreneur and working from home and talking about those challenges that we have, what helps you keep going through them and staying being an entrepreneur?
I think I also, even though I'm a creative person, which this might be kind of like controversial. I'm a really creative person, but I also really thrive in routine.
Yeah.
And so I can set up my day in a way that I can get the things that I need to get done.
Okay.
I can also take a break. I always take a coffee break at 2:00.
Right.
And I've done that forever.
Years. Yeah.
And sit down and do something different and just kind of readjust. And I think that having a routine for me gives me the the energy to be able to keep going and be consistent. And I also think that like the switching, like it's not the same thing every single day. There's new arrangements, new events, new things that are happening.
Well, like you said, you have something every quarter to look forward to.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And I think that helps because then it's like you're kind of shifting gears. And
well, someone told me years ago when I first started working at home, they said, don't ever, even in the morning before you get your kids to school, don't ever turn on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
And not even for the news, because the news will still be there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I never have. Yeah. Never. And still don't.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the things that kept me working at home.
Yeah, totally.
Because I never got distracted because I had the routine, like you just said.
I would never even think about turning on the TV during the day. And so I think that probably is a big part of it.
You know, when 9/11 happened, a neighbor called me and she said, I know you don't turn your TV on in the morning. You better turn your TV on. Why?
Yeah.
Just turn it on. She wouldn't tell me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, of course, that was on all day. But it's something that also, even if you even turned it on while you're making breakfast and getting the kids out to school or whatever, it's already a distraction in your head, even if you turn it off. Yeah.
I like to play music in the house during the day, or I listen to books on tape.
Yep, me too.
Or not books on tape. That's not what they call it anymore.
Audible. Yeah.
I like a lot of podcasts. I
didn't even flinch when you said that because I knew exactly what you were talking about. Books on tape.
Books on tape. So it's not like I'm just working in silence. I definitely need to have something in the background. But
so I know that when you married and you lived somewhere else, you moved away, that you got a lot of experience there.
I did.
So comparatively, how is the Whimby Island community shaped your current version of what you do?
Coming home, especially, we came home before Xavier was born, and Danny was working in Freeland, and we were living in Admiral's Cove, and that was close to my parents, and we were building a community as adults. And so we ended up moving up to Oak Harbor because we found, I was working at Midway Florist, which was a florist that my mom had been a designer at for over 20 years, I believe. And I was working there just part-time, but I found that we were just coming to Oak Harbor all the time. Our church was in Oak Harbor. I was working in Oak Harbor. Our friends were in Oak Harbor. They had little kids, so we were coming and hanging out with them.
Right.
And so we ended up moving up here, and we settled into quite a few years of just building great community around us. And I think that has definitely formed me where I don't want to be anywhere else.
Right.
I like living here. Yeah.
So talking about Whimby Island, what is your favorite way to spend the day on your day off?
Oh, well, if it's a yard work day, then I love a yard work day. And we kind of split up chores so that we can get stuff done, like I'll weed and Danny and X mow and Miles picks up the stuff in the yard. You know, we do that sort of thing. I love having a beach day, either at my parents' house down at Snakeland Point or out at Rocky Point. We love that beach also, or Monroe Landing, where I've seen.
Yeah. I haven't been to Rocky Point. That was Adrian's. Too. So I need to get out there this summer.
I like Rocky Point because there's always lots of kids out there. And since my kids' ages are so split, like I have an 18-year-old and a 9-year-old, that usually it's just me and the 9-year-old, and we can meet friends out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw you out at Monroe, is it Monroe?
Monroe Landing.
Yeah. Your son was having so much fun with his little friend out there in the water. Yeah. I enjoyed hearing their little voices and talking and telling each other what to do. And mainly your son was like a boss on the water.
Is definitely that. and that cold water does not faze them at all.
So are you someone that likes collaborations?
I love it.
You do? Okay. So who are your favorite collabs? Is it events or another business?
Okay. So my friend Hannah Dunn and I used to do workshops here at the house where we would split up. She is a watercolor artist.
Yeah. Very good.
And so we would do watercolor and floral design or wreath making, depending on the year. Those were my favorite. And then she moved to Texas. And so I would love to do that again.
collab with a with an artist.
It's hard. You know, it's hard when it's such a dear friend and then they move.
Yeah.
But I would love to find somebody else. I love collaborating with the Bay Leaf down in Coopville. I sell bouquets down there. They're very gracious to me. And then Marisa at the Vintage Affair. I have a little spot there, and I'll have a bigger spot.
Her new spot
at the new store with a flower cooler, so you'll be able to go and buy bouquets there.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, you guys are a good collab, a good mesh together for what y'all do. I know we talked about seasons, but how do you keep your creativity fresh?
Maybe probably Instagram. I follow a lot of different freelance designers on Instagram. I love Pinterest. I like seeing what other people are doing and maybe being able to adjust it to fit my style or just get inspiration from other people. Yeah, I think that's
one of the questions I like to ask everyone I interview here is, how do you see Whimby Island evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, or things that you would like to see happen? You know, anything you'd want to say about that kind of thing as a community.
Well, I love seeing like the Arts Commission and all the things that they've been working on about going towards having some kind of community space. I think that would be really helpful. Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, me too. And I love the ideas I'm hearing about having a huge community center. Yeah, that would be super nice.
It would.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Do you have anything interesting coming up, or events, or dreams that you want to come to life?
What I'm really focusing on right now is my new space at Vintage Affair when Marisa moves into the new building, and having that be kind of still my little quirky finds that I can't help. I have a thrifting addiction, so it is kind of fun to be able. I also have a decor addiction, and so a lot of the stuff from my booth at Vintage Affair is just stuff that I use in my house that I'm kind of flipping out seasonally. But I'm really excited to set that up as kind of a mini flower shop space. And so I've been dreaming about what that's going to look like.
Cool.
A lot lately. So.
Yeah, I've talked to Marisa a couple of times. The reason I don't have a booth, I'm always shopping in there, is because I don't want to go out and replenish it. And you have to.
It's the hardest part.
You have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so, she said, well, when my store is bigger, I can look at some of the things that you have that I've just saved from other houses and see if I can put them in the store, you know, in my booth or whatever she's going to do. So anyway, I have stacks of stuff, but then I look at it and Mike goes, do you even have enough for one booth? I said, Mike, some of them have really tiny booths.
Very tiny booth. Yeah. And I'm surprised at how hard it is to keep fresh.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to reinvent it and look at it from a floral perspective rather than like junking perspective, you know?
Absolutely.
So, the girls that have booths in there that they're moving stuff constantly, I admire them so much. It is so much work.
Yes, it is.
And Marisa says, this is a part-time job. And it totally is a part-time job.
It is. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do a quick fire questions with you. And so here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Just the first thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
Favorite flower to design with?
Depends on the season.
Okay. Least favorite flower, and be honest.
Stargazer lily.
Stargazer lily.
I overdid it. I overdid it in the 2000s.
Oh, did you? I think you and I have talked about this before, but the reason I like them is because they last so long.
I know, but I really overdid it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So color palette you can't get enough of right now.
It's shifting right now. So I was like kind of a bright spring. Now I'm more of like a muted spring. Muted with like a little bit more like sherbety.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 You know what? I have never in my life liked carnations. And then one day I walk into Hagen's and they had mauve.
Yes.
Double carnations.
Yes.
Those were so pretty.
Yes.
And so I collected as all the ones that they had and made tiny little bowls of them for an event I was having.
Perfect.
And they were so pretty.
Perfect. Carnations are the hardest working flower. They get such a bad rap, and I
just have a thing.
them.
You know, in Texas, they get dyed colors that they don't really
for sure.
are supposed to be. Also, in the South, we were always told if a boy gives you carnations, he doesn't really like you that much.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I buy carnations every single week because I absolutely love the texture.
Yeah.
I'm very picky about the colors.
Yeah.
And I love how long they last. I love what they can bring to a bouquet.
Yes.
So I think, carnation.
Well, I have been convinced now that you can buy pretty ones.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what's your go-to song while you're designing a big arrangement?
I say, Alexa, play Bonfire Radio.
Bonfire Radio.
It's kind of like folky country.
So not yacht rock.
No. It's like laid back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were reincarnated as a flower, what flower would that be?
In this moment, it would be a bearded iris.
A bearded iris.
Yes.
Well, she has
like
beautiful. She has beautiful orange and kind of a rust.
And these baby blue ones.
Yep.
My son said they look like angels.
And you have black ones back there.
Yeah, and black.
I mean, that next to those pom-poms. Wow.
I know.
Isn't you do have some lavender.
Oh, yeah, so much lavender.
Yeah, that's in my color scheme. I might have to get some of those. Okay, so what is a floral trend you secretly love? Maybe that wasn't so.
I love.
That went away, maybe.
Prom is coming up, and I'm noticing that a lot of the girls are holding little posy bouquets instead of corsages, and I'm like,
yay.
I'm vibing with that. Yes.
Yahoo.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to say that when my boys were in high school, the wrist thing came out.
Yeah.
And there was an artist in downtown Spokane, and we lived in Spokane at the time. She made the most gorgeous wrist bouquets, but she always put charms and things in them, like real ones, antique things. So those girls would have a memory once that died and was all dried up. Yeah, I thought it was great. So that is actually the floral trend you like to see disappear is the... Okay.
I actually am starting, like, prom orders are coming in, and I'm just saying, I'm not making those. This is what I'm making, are these little bouquets.
That's right.
I'm even going to have some girls come and they can make their own.
Oh.
Because I think it's
how
a
cute
thing.
is that with your friends?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's happening.
Okay. What's a dream event you'd like to design for? And it doesn't have to be here. It just could be somewhere in the world.
Oh, somewhere in the world.
Anywhere you want. Yes.
Well, honestly, like a small event, like with some music and a beautiful backyard where it's just like small and intimate but like over the top floral. Right. I love that. Got any ideas?
That one. I may. So what's the most surprising thing about being a floral designer?
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that's surprising. I mean, this might be surprising. There's a lot of heavy lifting.
Okay.
A lot of heavy lifting. Big buckets.
Yeah, the buckets.
Flowers. Yeah. If there's an event, like loading things in the car, moving arbors, and then taking things down.
So if you work for Lexi, you have to be able to lift over 40 pounds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day in your studio?
My favorite is being in the backyard with my family. And my husband plays with the kids, and you can hear him jumping on the trampoline or playing wiffle ball. Yeah. And I like working in the garden.
Yeah. Yeah. And you like to weed, right?
I love weeding.
Yeah.
I love also, we have owls. And so that's kind of like our nighttime ritual is like coming out here at dusk, and I'm getting some yard work done and the boys are playing, and then we can like hear the other birds that are bugging the owls, and then
we saw an owl the first year we were here over on the bluff where we live, and we haven't seen one since. I'm kind of bummed. And I don't know if it's because we have a lot of eagles, and they were very busy this year. There's 4 eaglets this year, and so they're flying everywhere and all over the place. And so I don't know if owls and eagles don't get along. I don't know, but I haven't seen one.
Oh, yeah.
In a long time.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to see one.
It's fun to see them. It's fun like to be watering, and then you can hear all the robins going, and then you like look up and they're like, oh, hey, there you are.
There you
usually like right in that branch right up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lexi, so
Thank
much
you.
for joining me today. I really enjoyed it. And listener, if I didn't say, we're sitting out in her backyard and you hear the birds. I hope you can hear the birds tweeting because it's so pleasant and it's a beautiful day and it's not windy.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have asked for more. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on another episode of Local Wimby with Magzie. Whether you're all about island life or just island bound in spirit, I hope you all are audacious islanders. Yes, that is a plug for my merch. Thanks for tuning in and celebrating the people, places, and magic that make Wimby Island so special. Don't forget to share the love, tell a friend, leave a review if you have something positive to say, and follow along for more stories from our audacious island. Until next time, keep it quirky, keep it local, and keep loving Wimby. Looking to create a life filled with connection, creativity, and a little bit of audacious charm? At withmagzie.com, we bring people together in all the best ways. Join the Supper Club, where food, laughter, and great company make every gathering unforgettable. Tune in to the Local Wimby with Magzie podcast, celebrating the small businesses and bold dreamers that make up audacious islanders and shape Wimby Island. Transform your home with Spaces, a personalized interior styling service that reflects your style and brings your space to life. Ready to gather, be inspired, and make your space truly yours? Visit withmagzie.com today.